Hey guys, welcome to the squat challenge. What I want to do today is give you some basic tips on the perfect squat. Now there's a lot of controversy about squatting among the fitness community because of a few things. Number one, everybody's body is kind of put together a little differently. And two, not only is everybody's body put together a little bit differently, but everybody has different kinds of postural conditions, you should say. So some people have very good posture, some people not so good, and that's for various reasons. Sometimes it's because we sit for long periods of time, maybe in an office job, maybe we wear high heels, maybe we just have poor posture to begin with. So some of the considerations that I want you to think about as you're doing your squats are you can modify any exercise. You can regress them down so that they're easier, or you can progress them up so that they're harder. So if you feel like you can't do squats, you'll be able to do some type of squat. The first thing that I want you to think about is your posture. Now your form needs to be straight. Many of us stand like this, or maybe with an arched back. Some of us put our heads forward. You can tell that those postural conditions are not the best posture for us to have. So what I want you to think about when you're squatting is to have your hip flexors forward as much as possible. You're going to come down, so your body's not going to be exactly like this. But what this does is it takes pressure off of our lower back. The other thing I want you to think about is closing in your rib cage. So imagine that you're zipping yourself up from here down to your belly button and then tucking your belly button in towards your spine. The next thing that I want you to think about is tucking your glutes in and standing with strong thighs, because these are the ones that are going to be taking over some of the work when we're doing the squats. So, and I'll explain that later. And then I want you to roll your shoulders back and try to have as nice, straight of a posture as possible. Remember, you want to try and keep your chest up, your head up. You also want to try and be in your heels as you're standing. So you're almost going to feel when you have a proper squat like you're falling backwards because your heels are going to come back. So those are just some things that I want you to think about as you're doing it. You're not going to be perfect in the beginning, so don't freak out. It's not like 100% necessity that you do just those things, but you do need to be thinking about your posture as you're going. Now the easiest squat is to actually use a ball, and I'm going to show you how to do this. You're going to take a ball like this, exercise ball, and you're going to take your feet about hip distance apart, a little bit further if you need to, and then what you're going to do is you're going to come down very easily into the squat until you're parallel. Notice that? See how I'm back in my heels? My knees are not, they're tracking forward, but they're not coming over my toes. Now I'm going to look a little bit because I can actually shift my feet a little bit more so that that is exhibiting the perfect squat. So I come down and then I come back up again. Now if you're feeling any pain in your knees, I want you to not go as far down, okay? So you can come down like this and just practice. Now notice, if you look at me from the front ways, I'm going to be sideways here, notice how my knees are moving forward and not falling out. They're not coming in, they're going forward. So that's really important for a good squat. So if you need to practice your squatting, using an exercise ball is a great technique for that. Another thing is to get yourself a little box or something that you can put down there so that as you're coming down into the squat, you can feel like you're sitting back into something, okay? Now notice with the squat also, I can have my hands in a variety of places. I can have my hands on my hips as I'm coming down and coming up. Now that's gonna kind of push me forward just a little bit. So ideally you're gonna wanna have your hands out, or you can have them up like this, or you can even bring your hands next to your ears, frame your ears, and come down like that, okay? But again, you want to make sure that your knees are tracking forward but not over your toes. You want to make sure that you're not forward falling like this. You also want to make sure that your chest is up as possible and that your toes, now there's a little controversy over this too, and I'll explain why in a later video, but your toes may come out just a little bit and your feet may be a little bit wider, and that's okay. Some trainers will tell you get your feet right under your hips, have your feet parallel, come down and come down straight, Otherwise you have imbalances in your body. The problem is that not everybody's hip flexors and hip complex is all set up the same way. So it's just something to think about. Now, if you want to practice the kinds of squats where you're going to be weighted, which is, I know that's Jamie's favorite, you're going to want to take the bar and place it not up here on your shoulders and not down here on your scapula. You want it to fit right into that little ridge that's right on your shoulders, okay? There's like a little ridge, and you just practice with it. You can use yourself a broomstick or an actual weight bar, whatever works. But try practicing first with something with minimal weight to it. So again, I want to get my feet about hip distance apart. Now for me, squatting with a bar, I actually like to bring my feet out a little bit more. That's my stance. Now notice I've tucked my hips up, my butt is squeezed, my hip flexors are forward, I'm closing in my rib cage, I'm rolling my shoulders back as much as possible with the bar, and holding my elbows back. And then when I squat down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back, like I'm sitting back into a chair, and then I'm going to come back up again, okay? So that's basically what you want to do. Now when you get weights on this, it's going to be heavier. So the tendency is for us to lean forward even more. I want you to keep your chest up, okay? Keep your chest up and forward. So if you watch me from the front, you're going to see that I come down and then come back up again, okay? Now squats are something that I have trouble with as well. They're not the easiest move to do, but practice makes perfect. So the more you squat, the better your squat technique is going to be ultimately, and the more you're going to be able to enjoy the exercise. Now let me explain to you what I want you to really be focusing on in terms of the feeling of the muscles. When we come down in the squat, our thighs take over, okay? So the front of our legs, our calves, a little bit our glutes, but for the most part, these are the muscles that engage when we come down. Also, people forget about the upper core area. So if our erector spinae, which are the back muscles, are weak, and our front abs are strong, they're going to pull us forward. So what we want to do is we really want to work on that core strength, which is why I tell people to really focus on bringing in those muscles. Now when I come back up again, I'm going to squeeze forward with my glutes and press my hip flexors forward again, rolling shoulders back. Now my erectors are back in line and they're pulling me back so that all of this is engaged. So forward is focus on anterior chain, and up we're focused on posterior chain, and our hamstrings too. I forgot about those. But anyway, so those are just some tips on our squats. So good luck with our squat challenge, and I hope you guys can, modify and tell me what you think. I'll talk to you later. Bye.